Welcome one and all to Campaign Diaries, where we're going to create a world for you to enjoy, and shortly after that, play it and destroy it. Here to show us what we're making is David. Want to get us started on introductions?
Yeah. All right. Welcome, guys. My name is David. I'm going to be the DM for this world that we're destroying. I go by Zenokami in most places on the internet, if I am actually in any places on the internet. Otherwise, you'll find me really doing trash and throwing games on Overwatch, just for the most part. With us today, we've got Hannah. Do you want to?
Hello, I'm Hannah. I am HannahBird826 on Instagram. I'm going to be playing Pim, a rock gnome bard in this wonderful post-apocalyptic world. Thank you. Max?
Hi, I'm Maxwell Smith. Just wanted to say excited to play in this world, so it'll be a lot of fun. We've got our duplicate Hannah Moran, our DM, just so you're saying your name is also Hannah.
Right.
So very excited for it. I am going to be playing a paladin mixed with a sorcerer. So there's a lot of extra fun with that as a Aasimar. And my name in the game will be Edamar of Aranar. So, or Edanor of Aranar. So it'll be a lot of fun. Excited to play.
Love the tongue twister name.
I know it's gonna be
that right.
that's gonna screw up a lot of people. Y'all can just call me Ed.
Ed,
Officially
nitty.
in my notes from here on out, I'm going to call you Ed.
I'm
Nigel.
I'll go next. I'm Nigel. I'll be playing a high elf blade singer. Went with wizard this time around because I want to torment the DM finally. And yeah, pretty excited to play this campaign as well.
You're just going to be casting detect magic and asking me to tell you the school of magic on the fly.
Oh
Yes, everything. Every single magic piece of magic.
Wait until
I'm going to keen minding everything.
wait.
You want.
You took it from my mouth. Wait until I have keen mind.
Are you doing Keen Mind? Because I was thinking about taking Keen Mind.
I'm taking.
Okay, hang on.
You are
We
for
got
sure.
two
We'll
people
talk
on
about
me.
we'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay, that's a different.
Let's finish up. We do
Okay.
have, of course, Raul Gonzalez Enriquez, last and certainly least.
Oh,
Who are you?
Well, you are right. My name is Rula Gonzalez Enriquez, but everybody can call me Ali. I am playing on this this game a character that I created years ago, and finally I'm bringing back to life for the first time in a decade. Lycus D. Stratus, the name that I give myself all over the internet. So I'm excited to play that. He's a monk, astral monk werewolf. So you know, shit's gonna get
Wait.
fun.
There you go.
Is this campaign just a giant plug then?
Quick time out. You guys didn't have to say your subclasses or anything other than that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fine that you did. That was on you guys, but you didn't have to give that much info. But we're
That's
good.
okay.
Whoops.
It'll be fun.
We didn't practice this. We're just acting on the
yeah,
fly.
yeah. You know what? Screw it. We got
Alright.
until January. Everybody rewrite your characters. All right.
Wait,
No,
Ollie, did you say your character's name is going to be Lycus D. Stratus?
Yep, I'm bringing him
Oh
back
my God, that's
from
cool.
the dead.
Dude, I actually feel really honored about this.
The
I when Ollie kind of told me his character idea and he's like, this is a character I played a long time ago. It was someone he fell in love with. I was like, yep, that's perfect. Bring him
That's
back.
awesome because you already have all that backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in. I'm pumped.
Okay, so
All
we
right.
have to talk about something important here.
Yes.
If it's not
So you're gonna
airships,
take
then just shut your mouth.
You're gonna wait.
Just kidding.
You're gonna be taking keen mind as well.
Well, not
Oh,
if
that's
you
what's
are.
important here.
We're gonna be the most unbearable.
I just
Do
think it
remember
is
No, do
it
you
is
remember it?
kind of appropriate
Actually,
for a lore bard. Who has the keenest mind, though? That's the real question.
You're
Out-
Captain, thank
they're
you
gonna
very
be
much.
out-
No,
We're gonna have a
Oh,
keen mind off.
Hannah, we
Well-
were supposed to take keen mind so we didn't have to take notes. Now that we both take it, now we both have to take notes to make sure who's more keener. We're back to square one.
You can have keen mind. I don't need to take keen mind. I was thinking it would be nice for a lore bard to recall history and stuff that I've read, but I already have a super strong history check, so I don't think I really need it. I just want it.
Besides the character, part of it was so that David will be writing my notes. You'll have to tell me. things in the past.
I'm just gonna give you the link to the world anvil.
Yeah.
There.
See attached.
Yeah.
Yep.
Regarding notes, see attached.
Okay, airships.
Okay, let's talk about airships. Yeah, this is going to be one of the big things in the whole campaign. I think we all love the idea of, swashbucklers, pirates, and for like a game setting, it's fantastic. Your players have a home base, they can move around, right? So it really sets up for the kind of like explore and make your own adventure kind of thing that I really want us to go for this time around. But just your regular ships were boring. And since the world was, dried out, regular ships aren't really going to do too well for you. I mean, there are probably still some people that try. They just kind of sit there in the sand, beating its sails and not actually moving anywhere.
Losers.
But you guys should ideally be beyond that. So we are going to go with airships, right? What I would like to hear from you guys, as a group, right? And maybe not all at once if we can. Talk to me about like, do you guys like this idea? And if so, what do you want to see in this idea? Like what kind of elements of, nautical experience or nautical role play do you guys really want? And how is there any twist that airships provide for this too?
All right, so 3, 2, 1, everybody go at the same time. 3,
Okay.
2, go.
Well, I think it's
I have keen mind.
Yeah, you'll work.
Screw the rules. I have keen mind.
I know it all.
But no, what I'm looking for in this kind of thing, like what I'm excited about in this type of, floating Earth ships and whatnot, the thing that always gets me about, especially airships, because in my mind, even when blimps were already a thing, the first thing I think is sailboat with it's a fucking sailboat, but in the air. Like that's the way it should be, should always be. And the reason that's so wonderful to me is because the whole point of sailing, the idea behind it is always freedom, like exploration, just being without bearings and being unrestricted. Taking that into the air obviously adds that level of even expanded freedoms. But more so in this setting, because everything is so like the ruinous, like there's currently still the monsters that ruin this world just kind of coming after everyone and constantly barraging the world with more and more shit. Hell, even when there's rain coming, it's like, the thing we've been craving is because monsters are coming. So the fact that that's the undertone of this entire setting, while especially considering the way we're setting up the crew to be, but here we are, free as a fucking bird.
Yeah.
It feels, the juxtaposition is lovely.
Yeah. I'm very excited about that, because I think that's one of the things we kind of keep forgetting to talk about too as a crew, mostly because that's one of those things that's going to kind of shape naturally as we play. But yeah, the whole sense that you guys are like the freest people in the world. You're not as chained down, and that's really kind of the thing we want to go for as well. So yeah, that's awesome.
I like a couple things about this whole concept. Number one, I like that just the concept of having, like, doing any sort of pirate or sailing kind of campaign is fun, because not only does each character have a role just within the group as a normal adventuring party, but they all have a role on the ship too. So we're all like vital to the operation of our travel mechanisms, so like if we lose someone, we're really going to miss them on a different level. So I like that. And I also just love the creative possibilities of ship design, like all the different possibilities of how could a ship possibly float in the air. There's a lot of different ways that can happen. It could be traditional sails. It could be more like a blimp kind of thing.
Yeah.
It could be like hot air balloon style. Like there's so many cool creative concepts. Ooh, check out that alliteration that you can pursue.
Are we talking about design at all today? Because I have an idea for a ship design that I want to pass by everybody.
Yeah, we are absolutely talking about designs today, and we should
our
talk
ship?
about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have an idea for a flag design, but I want to draw that before I send it off.
Okay.
Oh, we should definitely talk about that too.
Yes.
All right. Nigel, Max, anything you guys want to add? What do you want to see with it when it comes to like airships and nautical stuff?
Well, I think on top of that, whenever you're dealing with nautical, there's always at some point some storm that you're deling with. So I feel like that in the air just adds a whole nother level.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you get hit. Like you hear about those planes that get hit by lightning, they drop like 500 feet instantly. So you better be tied down. So I just imagine a lot of stuff that you could be. It gives you a lot more flexibility in a 3D environment. So rather than when you're stuck on a plane. So I think that's going to be another element that can be used. Let's say like you're damaged, or you have to decide like, oh, am I going to go through the storm and risk it, or am I going to hunker down and then maybe have to fight off some stuff or whatnot. So,
the hard choice.
Yeah.
We love a hard choice.
I think the only thing I can really add at this point is because seeing that all the water is gone, that means hypothetically could mean a lot of, you're not going to have underwater adventures. So there's not going to be like creatures on the water you can face. So I guess this gives a possibility to see like what you're going to see in the air.
Yeah. Monsters.
Yeah.
And
aerial encounters and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I want to second what Hannah brought up, that because it's a ship with different positions, it does give someone, like, maybe you weren't the type to make a hobby for your character, but this at least gives that character something that they'll always be, you can always go to this character for that.
Yeah.
I know we've had campaigns before where it's always possible that someone starts to feel a little left out, for example.
Yeah. And especially with this group, we've got a big group. We got 6 players, which is the most players I've ever run at the table. 4 has usually been my sweet spot. CFI was coming up on 5, right? So this is kind of the natural progression, but I definitely think that every player that's in our campaign is, the exceptional storytellers, which is really the goal, right? Some of the most creative bunch of people I know, and supportive too. So we'll definitely get some really interesting stuff. And I think, aerial encounters and monsters that you're going to run into they're going to be good, Some of the stuff that I listed, like that me personally, I really am looking forward to exploring is, Max, you kind of alluded to it already, that 3-dimensional stuff, getting, we're so used to running D&D in kind of like that 2-dimensional setting, right? It's like top or down and, any diagonals kind of in between, right? We rarely get to do a lot of, distances working in, other planes.
The y-axis.
The y-axis.
No, the z-axis, sorry.
Yeah.
I got it right.
Well, I would say
I have keen mind.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna just continue going now. You made your point.
This is gonna
you
be fun.
But yeah, no, I think it's gonna be really interesting. I think it's gonna be the other thing too. I think air and ship combat stuff is really interesting because it is more tactical, generally speaking, than your actual character on the field kind of combat. You're working together a lot more. You're doing things as a crew. The maps tend to be a lot larger, right?
Like you were saying, it's a lot more tactical, but collectively so. Because I feel like the actions that you're gonna take are even in regular battle, they're obviously dependent on what actions your partners take. Because now that's no reason to attack that, whatever. But with this, it's like their actions will 100% affect you because you're on the same fucking ship.
Right.
Yep.
If the driver
like a whole nother level of collaboration, cooperation.
Which means a lot of actions could be like, all right, I'm going to set something up so that this person can do the thing that they need so that something else can happen later on for someone else.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that just
I think
feels good.
also our group of players is, or at least has gotten better at being a cooperative group where we sort of set each other up to do awesome shit.
Yeah. And as we continue to play more, we'll get better and better at it. That's why we played a game where we had, everybody was kind of at like different levels their characters were. The OGDP game, and you were like leveling at different rates and stuff that. I thought that we ended up with a lot of good teamwork there because everybody was realizing like, okay, you're kind of our big gun. So we're going to set you up to get into position kind of stuff, there was like a lot of good tactical play between, like, I always think of like Gelgia and Fenrir, and then creating bottlenecks or exploiting bottlenecks and blowing up like 8 orcs, you know, as Domingo. We saw a lot of cool stuff. So I do think that this is going to give a lot of really good teamwork options as well, especially in a 3D environment where we have, a lot of our characters are actually designed to do some pretty cool shit in 3D environments. We're not going to get into too much of it, but we have a monk who is going to get to do some monk shit. We have a Harengon who we know can jump like crazy as well. We have an Azamar who can fly, so we've got some options here. Like, we're going to see some pretty cool shit, I think. There was another thing I wanted to mention too. One thing that I really want to do with the airship is I do want to make it feel more powerful than the players, in the sense that, at least for like the early levels, right? Because you guys remember, everyone's here watch Power Rangers, right? You know how shit hits the fan, they go to the Megazord.
Just turn into the sword.
I kind of want to feel like the airship is your Megazord. The combat's starting to get heavy, and we say, all right, we go like full, Star Trek. Everybody back to the ship. We can take him if we can get back to the boat, kind of thing.
So what level of what's the Tinkerer Artificer class?
Artificer.
Do you have to be to turn the boat into a mecha?
Hey, I'm proficient with Tinker's tools.
Probably.
I can make a clockwork device.
Cool. All of my stuff before I'm erasing it. New goals.
I was actually, there's a part of me that was a little sad that no one took Artificer for this one, but that's okay. You guys can hire someone.
Maybe Pim will multiclass.
I really wanted to, but it just hinders the spell slot progression too much.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
So is our ship, or maybe we're going to decide this today, but is it like infused with magic, or is it a purely mechanical airship?
Right now, purely mechanical. I'm giving you guys,
okay.
I decided I want to give you guys like a 7 out of 10 ship, because it gives you some room to grow, but again, it's that like safety net. Because
it's pretty strong.
I mean, you guys know I don't hesitate to put like some really tough encounters out there.
Like, you mean like a zombie apocalypse? Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can walk in like you were level 2 and you walked in on a CR 11 monster.
Level 2, and then make this CR 15, make this 15 roll, or you're dead.
Yeah.
You're a zombie.
Let's push the bard into the zombie pit. That'll be fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
But my point is, it sets you guys up as it is your safety net. I always try to give you guys something that's gonna give you like an easy recovery or a quick recovery that takes some time to do, kind of thing, so that you can experiment a little bit, and I don't have to really hold back too much. The ship kind of functions like that. You guys can walk into some really bad shit and then be like, okay, this is bad, everybody back to the ship, we got to get out of here. Or best case scenario, if we can get back to the ship, maybe we can fight this thing off, right?
Mm-hmm.
It puts you in that position.
No, I like that kind of balance, or even just like the concept of pushing the fairness of challenge rating almost slightly out of balance to really challenge us. Because I think that with this group, like, I know you as a DM, for one thing, you love being challenged yourself, and so you love challenging others as well. And us as players, I think we kind of relish in that. Like, we love a challenge that is just hard enough where we have to really think about how to work together to solve it. Like, this isn't just your average, Sunday afternoon DM or Dungeons and Dragons where we're just like, all right, I'm gonna hit him with my Warhammer. This is like, how do we solve this conundrum as a group using our abilities together?
What kind of clever stuff can we?
Yes, cleverness. That's it.
cause a little more chaos in your
A
planning.
really great example, a really, really fantastic example of teamwork like a few sessions ago in CFI was when you guys blew up the Ultima with the Witchfire barrels.
Yes.
That was gold. You know,
All right.
that's
Check
the kind of
that
shit
out.
we're talking about.
Heroes of Hysteria episode 3, I believe.
I don't know. One of them. One of them.
Three.
This is
Two or three.
probably. I think this. I don't know if this will come out before that, but we'll see what happens.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Let's talk about the Sherwood then. I think. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, I'm happy. Another thing I'm excited for. I get to make more maps. I like making maps, especially ship maps.
We love
They're really
David's
cool
maps.
because well, ship maps are going to be fun because they're big scale, right?
Yes.
And with the scenario that we've got going on here with large ships, we're gonna get to do things like make multiple maps because you're gonna have your ship level
Layers.
map, your ship layer map, and then when say Lycus decides, okay, fuck this, I'm going onto their deck and I'm gonna beat the shit out of their captain, and he jumps onto their ship, we should be able to move him over to that map.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Are you going to have different maps and move just the one player, or put it all in one?
So it's tough. I think I'm going to have, because we're using Roll20. Roll20 does give us the ability to move individual players from map to map, screen to screen. It's a little annoying on my part because I have to jump back between the two when I go to like different character turns. The other option is, you guys can see the screen I'm sharing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you'd have basically like this would be your big ship map, right? All the ships are moving around and shit on this map, and then all the individual ships have like in a corner their own little grid map, right? So you would basically say like, okay, we go up here, we board this ship, then we say, okay, we put your tokens onto the grid map now, the small grid map,
All within the same
window.
screen.
Yeah.
So it would just
So,
be a
the-
huge map for Roll20.
Enormous.
Yeah. And the other thing too is scaling does get wonky.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to do that. I think I might just do the 2-map option. It's not all that hard. Especially what I plan to do, I might even do things like make a ship map for like a specific ship, especially if it's your guys' ship for one, but then maybe even some like more important or significant villain ships or NPC ships, actually making those out and then uploading those as images and turning those into tokens. And then when we have the big ship map, we just basically drag those ship tokens onto there, right? And they can still have their own separate maps. But you basically would move your ship as a token.
In purposes for recording, it's going to be your screen. Has it always been your screen being recorded or no?
No, I think for the
Okay.
purposes of recording, it's going to be Hannah's screen. So we're basically always going to be seeing Pim's POV, which is okay because Pim,
It depends. If you go to different maps, you start to get a little.
and so we'll
Or-
talk about how we manage the turn orders and stuff. I think it'll be okay.
You could just
Um,
bring me over to whatever map you go.
No,
always.
because depending on the scale of it, it would just kind of be irritating. I would say I personally don't mind if the game just kind of continues to happen from Pim's POV, right?
I think it depends on what's happening, though. Like something might be important enough that we'll figure that out.
We'll figure it
another
out.
time.
I mean, I don't foresee it being too much of an issue, and if we want to move people around, it's like whatever. We'll either post the maps later in something else, or they can check out the World Anvil. The maps will probably be posted there too if they wanted to kind of see it. But I wouldn't stress it too much. As much as I like making maps and as much as I hope to make pretty maps, the real goal is the adventure. It's not so that they can see it. It's imagination first.
Right.
So
we're talking about what the Sherwood's like, because
let's talk about the Sherwood, because you have ideas.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me get my notes ready.
You're allowed to make it like a Zord. Remember, we have
Or
GM permission.
actually, I do have a couple of like conceptual questions first that might help kind of guide this part too.
I mean, sure. If you want to jump in first, do your thing.
Yeah, well, here's one of the things I wanted to talk about too, is just in terms of the setting. How common do you guys want airships to be? Do you want there to be like lots of them that you guys run into a lot, or do you guys want to have like maybe like the only one or one of the few ones, You know,
I think
Well-
it's more entertaining if there's a lot, because
Okay.
then that's more challenges for us to interact with.
I
Okay.
agree, but I also want to keep in mind that it's only 5 years after the inciting event where the
Mhm.
seas are siphoned off. So, is that enough time for people in Hysteria to really like organize and build a sophisticated concept of an airship?
I think in a world where magic is kind of the staple, even though magic is a little chaotic in this world, it
Mhm.
is still a driving force for technological and social evolution. So,
Mhm.
like, deciding, oh, we need this thing that we've already had do this particular job, but we need
Mhm.
it up there. I think that's a process that can be pretty swiftly implemented. And the thing about it is that it can be implemented in a lot of different ways. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying every airship runs exactly the same. Maybe
Yeah.
there are some commonalities, but I think there could be enough airships to the point where we won't always have an advantage. We won't always have the high ground.
Yeah.
Because there's a solid 50-50 chance or whatever that our enemy will have a similar vehicle.
Similar ship or and the other thing too is, so in another timeline of Hysteria, or really I guess in the timeline of Hysteria, Pim might not necessarily, Pim probably wouldn't know this yet, right? But it's something you would have probably learned by the time the adventure starts. I know there's a couple characters in our group that do know this. Construction on airships had already been underway before the world was destroyed.
Okay.
There had been groups already working on designing a few, right? They had figured out ways to kind of power them. And in fact, one significant thing, and actually this might be something that Pim knows. Do you have dice with you?
Yeah.
Roll me a history check. Let's just see. Mostly because I'm talking to Hannah here, and because Hannah's the lore bard, I'm just going to see whether or not this actually happens.
I don't remember what my history modifier is. I think it's like 6 or 7.
Yeah, whatever.
Ooh, I rolled a 19, so.
All right. So one thing that at least Pim knows, and I think, like us being a world traveler, you'd know this. Max, your character, would know this. Nigel, your character, knows this too. There would have been.
Why did I roll a 19 for this?
I don't know. See, I don't know. In Azafast, in the last war, so this was 1,000 years ago prior, right? This was the last war that established peace on Hysteria. The Sol Lumion Crusaders, who were a guild from Azafast, they actually were known to have a flying fortress.
Ooh.
I would know this.
So there was some world lore there that, objects and structures have been flying for a while, right? It wasn't commonplace, but now that everything has gone to shit, the other thing
had to
too
fast
is
track the FDA approval.
Yeah, the other thing too is I think the airships that you guys are going to run into the most are going to fall under two very common categories. Either Azafastian airships, right? Or basically, your wooden galleons, sloops, long ships, that kind of stuff. Maybe not long ships. And then the other type of like air vessel or other group that you guys know about, especially because this is going to be happening 5 years, is if you're watching the map kind of along the Twilight Belt, right? There is Muldan Ordan, the city of the goblins, and they have been industriously working to create their own types of aircraft as well. So goblin airships are known. Goblin sky pirates are a thing to be mindful
Pirates.
of.
Another example too is like in Avatar, for example, it didn't take the Fire Nation that long to come up with their blimp technology.
Yeah, that's true. I do feel like with a combination of magic and like an event that forces us to organize quickly as a civilization, there probably are plenty of innovative airships out there.
It's one of those things where it seems like a stretch, and then the more you think about it, it's like, you know what? Yep, possible. People have time on their hands.
Yeah.
Well,
Apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they gotta do something. So the next question I've got for you is, since airships are pretty common, then right? What are some of the things that society is going to need to accommodate them? One of the things I think of immediately, for example, is an airport.
Yeah.
You know, like a harbor
I didn't even think
kind
of
of
that.
thing.
Here's my question. Regarding I feel like modifying docks to be aerial is a thing that could definitely be done. I feel like since some
still really there.
Huh?
If the cities are still really there, because I mean they're on a cliff edge now.
Yeah, that's true. Everything is a plateau.
Yeah. Yeah, you just pull up next to the city.
But what I was thinking is, docks would have two different sort of docking mechanisms. One for more magical ships that have like a constant energy source, maybe like an eternal flame of something to keep it aloft, and then a sort of like net style, like Baby Bjorn for a fucking ship where they just like egg crate into it to hold them in place for the mechanical ones.
That's pretty fucking awesome. I like that a lot. I like that a lot because I can just imagine a scene where it's like, okay, guys, we got to get out of here. Shit, the ship is still in the net. What do we do? Cut the net. Cut the net. Just drop out and catch the air.
I would hope we wouldn't be able to cut the net of something that's holding a ship. I hope there would be.
Well, you'd have to like, maybe there's something that
magic swords and shit. I mean,
fire. We'll be fine.
What about like?
Lycus has fists.
You got a wizard.
Punch the net.
Yeah, punch the net.
When you said net, I just immediately thought of like the fact that we're in the air instead of in the water makes the prospect of falling off the boat a lot more scary.
Oh yeah.
So how about having like a safety net underneath somehow for people in case people fall off?
Yeah.
What?
The boat?
It's like you don't have wings or something.
Shut up. Not everyone can fly.
I feel like that's definitely a thing that's like dependent per ship. If we want it on the Sherwood, maybe so. I mean, we should all definitely vote on like what aspects we want.
Yeah, I don't know if we would need it on the Sherwood because we're pretty capable.
Well, I also I definitely think, this is something we actually talked about a while back too. I think Hannah and Button had mentioned it. Parachutes.
Yeah,
parachutes are going to be a thing people would probably have.
Featherfall
is a thing people probably have. Oh man, I would love it.
Does anybody have Featherfall here?
No, we should have a set of parachutes, just a bunch of umbrellas with Featherfall on them.
Oh,
that's pretty nifty.
That's our entrance to everywhere.
Write that down. Featherfall parachutes.
We just Mary Poppins into this place and beat everyone the fuck up.
Can we move our legs too, as if we're walking down stairs?
Yeah. I could just imagine though, it's gonna be really cool when those guys become targets.
Yeah. Fireball.
The other thing too is, with the surge stuff, I love the idea of a reaction breaking the surge table. Because just imagine you decide, okay, I cast Featherfall on myself. Okay, roll on the surge table. Oh, you're petrified and falling now.
Great.
Falling
slowly. This did not work out how I wanted it to.
But if you fall in the sand sea, that's still a problem.
Yeah, I feel like certain materials will become very valuable too, like canvas, basically. For sails and parachutes and all kinds of stuff, like there will be a higher demand on textiles like that.
Canvas and like light metals, aluminum, stuff like that.
Yeah, lightweight, like ship materials too. So lighter woods and lighter metals.
Okay.
So what's the best wood? Is it still ironwood? Like it's really hard and light, or?
Yeah, so ironwood is still a thing. Mahogany is still a thing if you can find it. But I think as far as materials go, ironwood is probably one of the ones that's going to show up a lot. Just because those forests, when the world lost all its water, a lot of these places went really dry, and became desert, right? The floods also kind of uprooted a lot of trees. So, that material is not as prevalent as it once was. But at the same time, this is also a world with magic. So they'll probably find a way around it. I haven't thought of it yet. But, I think ironwood is going to be expensive, right? It's definitely going to be up there and maybe not super common immediately, but it's definitely going to be an interesting commodity to work around.
In terms of the wood and whatnot, I feel like, because I know there's some spells that allow you to like grow plants and also shape wood in itself. I feel like galleys that create that do ship writing work, they have like one massive tree of whatever type that they use, and then someone who grows
like
a little
clay,
shapes it
into
whatever, and then push those aside. Next person.
Okay.
That's why druids are huge.
Yeah,
Druids
druids are like a hot commodity in this world.
If you're talking about fabricate is one of those spells where you can take raw materials and convert it into like a shaped substance. Although with fabricate, you have to use up the raw material. Like it doesn't, like there would still be the problem of how do we get more raw material.
Yeah. Right. Fabricate's a good level spell too. Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Any more questions about about the ships that you had?
Yeah,
no.
is our ship, I have a question. Is our ship is it was it created as an airship, or was it first a water ship that was converted into an airship?
Excellent question. Let's see.
I kind of like the idea of it being like a traditional water ship that was.
Yeah, it is.
I'm a fan of that. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
that's perfect because that's what I was originally designing in my head.
And also along those lines, like talking about the history of our ship in particular, did it belong to one of us before? Like, was it yours, Lycus, or how does that happen?
It belongs to the company that we're going to be working for.
I'm
just one of the various captains of this company.
Okay.
And as far as I understand, on this next voyage, I have selected you all as my crewmates.
Got it.
But the ship is a rental. It belongs to the company.
Okay.
Just not for long.
Got it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that.
You didn't sign a contract, right?
Until we all carve our names into the side.
Good.
Yeah, you put your initials in. Part of the crew, part of the ship. So, okay, let's see. For ship design and stuff, I was thinking your guys' ship could be hot air balloon. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Huh?
That's cool.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about that?
So do we have any, like, is it just hot air, or do we have like some...
You'd have propellers as well.
Yeah.
You'd have propellers.
Okay.
So I actually had an idea. And if you don't mind, I was hoping to go through this real quick. Imagine just a regular sailing vessel.
Regular sailing vessel.
Maybe one main mast, couple side masts, like nothing too huge.
Okay.
A ship that's sort of built to maneuver with enough size that it can really be attack, take, but have enough place to store everything. So that sort of size. And I was envisioning the sort of like that patio deck that a lot of those older sailing kinds of ships had. That sort of observational deck that would be turned into sort of like a partially like light aluminum metals that it can be turned into a sheet, and part of it would be canvas that's sort of sewn together in various ways, so that it would still be structurally sound, so that if anything bombarded, it wouldn't just rip, it wouldn't just break, it wouldn't just be like a balloon, but as air went through it, it would poof up in certain areas, sort of like a
bladder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine like the umbrella sigil for the umbrella for the Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
Every other one is a canvas that expands and becomes inflated, and then along the metal side, the metal sections come out tubes that we can actually control and open like little latches just creating just a mechanical lever that opens.
Yeah. Just to kind of manage the airflow and okay.
Well, not just to manage the airflow, but to point them at certain sails to allow us to push.
Like a thrust thing.
Exactly.
For propulsion. Yeah.
That way, it would have both the function of loft and direction.
Okay.
The other ideas that I had for the ship would be along the sides, because honestly, a large ship like a larger ship for the water seems like it would be a little too, like, it might be buoyant for water, but that's not going to cut it.
That's not going to cut it in air. Yeah.
So along the sides, massive like gashes cut out of them in little like long ovals or whatever that would be turned into like emergency air bladders for this is no longer functioning. We need to just survive. We need to stay.
Yeah. We need to land this thing and just
And these would essentially be like parachutes that open up and catch air as we fall down. Emergency
That's
style.
cool.
And
then
I was thinking ahead.
That's good. That's good.
And the last two parts of the thing that I had envisioned were two things. One was a I don't know what to call it, a sheet, but more like a net, something that can be used from the front of the ship and in like spools that you could grab and pull and sort of cover up a good chunk of the ship for sandstorms.
Okay.
From being busted. But that can also be released down to collect dew or whatever else, sort of like sifting through the air for water, whatever we can be attached to them. And those are the major things that I considered. But with what Max said about lightning and whatnot, because that would probably be also a difficulty, we could have along the main mast some metal work as a lightning rod. That would then have metalworking that goes all the way down to the back of the ship to release it out towards the ground, so it would just lightning would strike the ship and it would just go through us
like a grounder.
As long as no one touches any of the metal on the ship, we're golden.
Whenever we see a lightning struck, everyone's like,
heads up.
Heads up. Hand check.
If you have an ironwood hull ship, though, that gets a little dicey.
Is iron worked throughout the wood?
It is iron, basically, but it's like softer and stuff.
We all have to get rubber bottom slippers.
Well, I mean, I think you guys would probably still have a basic wood deck for now. You can upgrade to ironwood one day if you really want to.
But also, how common is lightning if there's no water and no rain clouds?
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Well, I mean, you can get static.
That's true.
So,
thank you, Max. That's how
I
it is lightning.
I do in terms of
the requirements for lightning, rain clouds.
components of lightning. No, I think in terms of like the design of our ship, I have been thinking about this, and I'm worried that like pretty much any sort of canvas based or like hot air balloon whatever based ship is going to be so easy to take down, because you can just point a cannonball at the balloon or something and like boom, that balloon is out of commission.
That was the reason for the idea of like the half metal, half canvas, so as to at least partially protect that. Obviously there's still some weaknesses. We would have to upgrade to more of a magically driven ship. Right now I was imagining that the most magic involved would maybe be like some sort of eternal flame that we could have to keep the heat going. Otherwise it would just be shoveling coal.
Well, you could have I would think for now you guys are shoveling coal. We can work up to eternal flames and stuff, but you guys would be shoveling coal for now.
So then my only caveat is this would be a 7 out of 10 ship.
Yeah, for the most part, I think it's got defensive qualities, which is going to be really useful for you guys. And we're combining a good bit of speed and maneuverability. So overall, 7 out of 10 ship, and it's slightly above average.
May I add the basic parachute sides.
Mhm.
The idea of them being sort of like rippled metal aluminum things, so that when they're closed, they shutter close and become almost flat, like so they can still be sort of protective. And then
Yeah.
pop them open and they fill up.
You could even have like straps that kind of keep them in.
Mhm.
You know, the reason I like that idea is because as a DM, I think, oh, can I hit this thing to open up your parachute prematurely and like send your ship awry? You know, so it gives your ship a little bit of like a video game weak spot, which I like, and it gives you guys something to kind of like be aware of, like, oh, our ship is strong, but we do need to, you know, be cognizant of this and this and this, right? It also gives you guys something to kind of continue to work towards too. You're like, oh, this is a weakness we're gonna learn to shore up.
Yeah.
Is that
That
cool?
was just that was the design I had. You guys have any ideas regarding the design or modifications?
What do you want for a masthead? That's another thing.
A big ironwood
wolf.
trunk.
I mean, I think my
Oh, masthead.
like a swallow. But
You want a what?
swallow.
A swallow.
swallow.
Oh, a swallow is nice.
You still have a
Well,
mast?
if this is
I mean,
the
it's just like-
ship
Well,
that
the-
belongs to our guild, let's
Yeah.
talk about the guild. What would that look like?
Yeah, what would their
The company. I
Yeah.
think I have a name for them. I can give it to you. Let me see what I've got here. Pull up the note. The Aurora Company.
Aurora.
They're a company of ice harvesters. To the Aurora Company.
That doesn't
front of
bring
the penguin.
anything obvious to my penguin. An ice pick.
flightless bird is the
Yeah. It's
big
a really
ice
dapper
cube.
ship.
If we have a mast, where is the balloon going? Hot air balloon portion setting
So,
up.
Imagine the way I was thinking. Imagine like a old pirate ship from like some Pirates of the Caribbean movie. You know how there's the main
There's the main deck
deck.
and there's like the aft deck.
where inside of which is usually the captain's cabin, on top of which is usually
The wheel.
the helm and
Mhm. Is
that-
whatever else.
Is that the stern? What's it called, David? What's the boat
Stern is
Stern.
the back, yeah.
Stern is the back.
But-
Here,
so that's the stern.
I can pull it up for you.
What's the butt of the ship called?
The stern is the butt of the ship.
It's the butt.
Let me just do this. Create new. Oh, look! Check this out, guys. I tell you, airships are popular.
Ooh!
Good stuff.
Those are cool,
It's
like
a-
little wings.
It's cool looking.
Yeah.
I imagine we'd maybe need a couple of air balloons, like one towards the front and one towards the back.
We could have it be sort of like oh god. what's
Shout out to
that?
Incarnate, by the way, for not sponsoring
Incarnate!
this video.
Yeah.
If you want to, though, I mean, we're open to that. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
what is
we
it?
are-
DeltaCryptid@gmail.com?
It is the Delta Cryptid Productions.
Okay, so I'll pull out a few here.
Hit us up.
um,
So I'll pull up a few different ones. So you're talking about this deck.
yes, I was thinking that along
Yeah.
that top deck, it would be a dome that sort of extends maybe farther out into the middle, but it would be like we would go under it if we were walking on the regular deck. And then the wheel will be moved down to the maybe the front or somewhere else, and it will allow the balloon to fill and allow us to also have control over which pipes are open, so allowing us to push hot air not only into the balloon but also into various sails, so we don't have to worry about whether the wind is going to take us. We can take ourselves. If we have multiple balloons, I was thinking the other ones could be real small, maybe even like those parachutes. Maybe they could be closed most of the time and fill up with air too, and be like the sides that fill up so they can maintain buoyancy, and the balloon is like reducing the weight by being the largest. And then when we need to, oh no, we're gonna die, there's an escape button to release the bottoms, so that become the air catching sort of parachute.
Mhm. So Ollie, how do you feel about in terms of ship shape? I think I'd offer you. So this guy is too small. This is a galleon. Like it should be much bigger than this. So this is off the table.
Okay.
This is a keel boat.
Bye.
You probably don't want that one either. So I think I'd offer you guys these two as kind of examples of your starting ship in terms of what they would look like on land, and then we'll add all the sails and engines and stuff afterwards in like a custom map. This one's a 3-master. This one's a 2-master.
I imagined the 3-master
A 3-master?
with like a deck, top deck up front too.
Yeah, this guy.
I think that would work best because then the back deck could be turned into like the engine room, where all the coal and whatever else is going on, and then the front room can be turned into like an officer's room where we go over like the maps and do whatever else.
Okay. Well, you guys are our captain and first mate, so you guys get to decide. It is going to be this 3-master.
Fuck yeah.
And
Hell yeah, 3-master!
How big is the crew outside of us?
well, that's something we'll have to discuss as well. It's a sailing ship, just a regular sailing ship. Okay. The crew. Let's take a look. See. Let me switch over my screen share because let's talk about the ship rules we're using.
Crew size for a ship that large, I'm thinking anywhere between 6 to 35,000 people.
Okay. Can you guys see the
Somewhere
screen
in
share?
that range.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a supplement that I got off of the DMs Guild. It is the Captains and Cannons, a ship guide, ship combat, Dungeons and Dragons by Drifters Game Workshop. They make fantastic stuff. If anybody's watching this and you're looking for, optional rule sets or additional rule sets, definitely hit up the DMs Guild and look for these guys. They do just amazing work. This dude here, Jeffrey Yang. Big shout out to Jeffrey Yang. Never met him or spoken to him, but bought his shit and I'm very pleased with it. So there's that. Let's see here. Let's just hop straight. Okay, well, we'll go through a quick brief thing about ship properties. I think all these properties are going to be staying in because this is what we pretty much use for nautical combat, right? And we're basically going to be taking our nautical combat rules and applying them now to the airship kind of space, right? So these are all going to still be intact for the most part. Hull points instead of hit points, damage thresholds, crew members, passengers, size, initiative, tonnage, weapon slots, speed units, sail stations, maximum speed properties, right? And then these are some of the lists of properties. We're going to be expanding on this list because it's an airship, right? So you have things like helmsman required, which means you need to have a crew member at the helm in order to steer the ship. This ship does not turn without a helmsman. And this is because, there are some ships that, your propulsion, your method of propulsion also kind of dictates your direction, right? This is not the case if your ship has a helmsman required. Sail powered, yeah.
Wait, what if I use Mage Hand?
You can only lift 10 pounds, so if you're
probably
having to exert more than 10 pounds of force, that probably won't
Yeah, probably not.
cut it.
For leisure travel.
Depends on
On
the
a nice
weather
day.
conditions and stuff. Yeah, maybe you can keep it locked with the mage hand or something. You can lock the wheel with it.
Put the cruise control on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sail powered, right?
Nigel's
Mixed
already
propulsion.
trying to get out of his job.
Yeah. You son of a bitch.
Well, I think Edamore is our surgeon now, right? Or do you still want to be the bosun? I think you and Nigel got to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you mentioned that
Yeah.
it makes sense to switch. So I'm on board with it.
Cool. So your guys' ship, these are like the table of ships. You guys are probably looking at a sloop.
I want to
So crew members, you need 5 to 16. 5 is your minimum, right? 16 would be your maximum, and then you can have 20 passengers. Right? Your size is medium as far as ships go. This is important. Your initiative is +7. The reason this is important is because ships don't roll for initiative, right? You basically go off the number that is assigned here, right? So if you guys were, on a ship map with a long ship, right? The long ship has a 6, you have a 7. Because of the type of ship you are going to go before the long ship. But something like a rowboat, which is very small, has a really high initiative. So it's likely to go first as out of 10. Okay.
Okay.
If we make updates to the ship, can we sort of manipulate that in some way?
Yep, certainly. Absolutely. As you change like your propulsion types too, if you go from coal and stuff to like Elder Glass ship or whatever, you can find ways to do it.
Just a man-powered propeller, our barbarian just going.
your hair barbarian, your small little hair barbarian.
Just
put him in a wheel.
kicking the feet. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Put him on a wheel.
There you go.
Put Granny in a wheel.
Hamster wheel.
Steel glutes. So
tonnage. This is going to be important for airship stuff.
What is tonnage?
Yeah, I was thinking
How
about
much
the
do you
weight.
weigh?
We can. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you with regular ships, if you go over your tonnage, you're just like moving a lot slower and stuff. You don't quite sink. But in an airship scenario, your tonnage is also going to determine whether or not you maintain loft, right? Or altitude.
So
Weapon
is
slots.
that's how much we weigh, or how much we can carry?
That's how much you can carry. If you exceed that, you start to.
All right.
That's sink, by the way.
I feel like you're gonna have to when we're on the ship or something, or one of us has to keep track of that, because I feel
Right.
like
So who's gonna keep track of that? I was going.
Your quartermaster.
Yeah, they're the ones that keep track of the items. So
The
Quartermaster.
quartermaster keeps track of that.
yay.
So button. Weapon slots. How many weapons does your ship have? What and you can also change the types of weapons, but basically until you get improvements, your basic sloop, which is what you guys have, has 5 weapon slots. So you can have, we'll talk about Ollie, you and I will talk about, what weapons your ship would probably already have. I'm thinking cannons, crossbows, but there's quite a few other ones. Mortars are an option, right?
I just want one weapon. Well, I want plenty of weapons. Cannons,
Oh, okay. Just
whatnot.
one weapon. You got it, man.
Careful.
No, we'll
want,
take all 5.
It's a
A
The laser
strong
beam.
catapult to launch me into the enemy ship, because I can't fly, but I can fall well.
That's
Okay.
hilarious.
What if we missed and botched the shot, though?
And you come and get me. No, I'm just kidding.
Featherfall.
He's got a parachute.
Parachute.
He's got his umbrella.
I got my umbrella on me all the
Mary
time.
Poppins. Oh my God.
Yeah, we
You just got
there
the
goes
umbrella
Mary
strapped to your
Poppins
back. Oh
again.
no, dude, you're basically Aang.
I don't know how many. I don't know how many resources we have to waste to have these Mary Poppins umbrellas. But goddamn, I'm willing.
Yeah.
But no. What are those called? Those giant crossbows?
Oh,
Ballista?
the mangarels, I think.
I think it'd be a ballista.
Yeah,
Ballista.
Yeah.
Ballista,
anything,
yeah.
Anything that can be very targeted, because I want to do. I want our ship to be a boarding ship, because we're not exactly like, with the way our ship is built. It's not exactly like, oh, we want to take as many hits as we can take as many hits as possible. I think the best idea is to get in close, board, take them down, and then look at that, we have another ship.
Ship
Yeah.
is designed to carry ice, so yeah.
Well, no, not your
But
ship. You
that-
guys are escorts.
we're
The ice
escorts.
harvester
Oh,
ship
okay.
is something that's a different beast
Different one?
entirely.
Okay.
We'll get to that and when we get to the session, but that's something else.
Yeah, hooked, chained ballistas to get us locked in with enemies is a weapon that I really wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the things I'm surprised about too is the speed. The
Yeah.
unexpected. Because this is just for reference, because this one, the maximum speed is 20 feet right now.
So
Between all the ships.
let's talk about speed units, because you also have these things, the sail stations. Right?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Okay, so sail stations. Sail stations are how many sail crew actions can be undertaken simultaneously on board of the ship. These sail stations may represent rigging areas, sail controls, rowing banks, coal engines, magical orbs of energy, or depending on the vessel. There's, however, no mechanical difference between any of them. Speed unit, how much speed the ship gains per successful sail crew action. So you guys have 10
I
of
see.
those. You can take up to 200 feet, right? But if you get only one successful sail crew action, then you just get 20 feet. So now let's talk about then. That brings us to kind of the flows in combat. Okay, I really like this rule set because we'll just go to this thing. Here is the combat step by step, right? So we roll initiative for your characters. Okay, everybody knows where their character is going to go now. Yeah, and then I will declare any environmental changes, direction of the wind, if there is any, storm, altitudes, that kind of stuff, right? That'll be where that is included. The character phase begins. This is just like your standard game, right? Where you guys are on the ship and you can take your actions and all that shit just like you would normally. But when you're on the ship, you get access to these crew actions. Okay, we'll talk about crew actions in a moment. Then once we've resolved all of your stuff, and if you're taking like a crew action for something, then we basically resolve your crew action in the ship phase, right? So once you guys have all decided what you're going to do, then we can go over to this. Typically, this is going to be pretty quick because I don't actually have to do a lot of explaining. Like if you guys are far enough away from the enemy ship, I know what the enemy ship has done already. We can just kind of get through this pretty quick. Like, okay, you say what you do. Okay, now we move on. Ship phase begins. Okay, the ship phase is where we kind of resolve all those crew actions, right? And the ships make all their movements and they take all their turns and stuff. Ships have their suite of actions as determined by the crew actions undertaken during the character phase. This is important because ships are just objects. They don't do shit unless you guys take crew actions. So there is some impetus to getting a crew together so that you guys can actually do stuff, right? So that your ship does stuff. Mm-hmm. Then we begin the next round. Okay. So before we get started here, like I said, ships basically work as the crew puts actions into them, as you guys expend actions and, do stuff, or you assign crew to do it. One of the things that is different in this environment, because it's airships versus sail ships, how do you guys feel about there needing to be a dedicated crew action to maintaining altitude? Depending on the ship. Like some ships might not need it, but some ships I feel like do need it. If you're like, for your guys' ship, for example, your lift comes actively, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have a crew member maintaining that lift turn to turn, and we could assign it as just one crew member, right? But if you don't have a crew member maintaining that lift, your ship would start to sink. Not sink like into the ocean, but basically lose altitude.
I think it makes sense to have someone responsible for that, but I also think that when you get to a certain altitude with the wind that is already in the atmosphere, you can sail. You can set your sails in a certain way to maintain an altitude, right? It's like a plane. Like you don't have a pilot constantly going like this in the front of a plane.
Yeah.
It's like there's a certain point where the wind sort of takes care of things for you.
Yeah, but planes are also designed very differently. If you think about like the wing ratio or like wing surface ratio to like the actual like cabin itself and stuff, and
they're moving a lot faster.
Yeah. The other thing too, in this world, because there's no water, right? The atmosphere is actually significantly lower. So that's another thing I was going to talk to you guys about as well, is in terms of altitude, I was thinking you guys, the highest ships never go beyond 1,000 feet. Like,
interesting.
It's because the atmosphere is so low, right? And it would just make our math easy if there was just kind of like a height cap of 1,000 feet.
Well, that would be 1,000 off of the plateaued areas.
Yes, off of like the plateau
pretty
just
far
area.
down.
Yeah, exactly. So like it could go pretty far down. So yeah, exactly. It's 1,000 feet from the plateau, from your what was quote unquote sea level. Mm-hmm. We'll call it continent level now. But that means that it opens a chance. One of the things that I'm really excited for is just the imagery of you guys like airships sailing through a mountain range, because the mountains would be going up higher than you, right? So even though you're up there, there's still, climb that has to happen and stuff. Like you can get through like the early boring phases of the mountain climb and then start just working at like halfway or something.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, I was just thinking, going back to the dedicated crew member to do thing, the lift. Just three things to consider from on my end. One, does that mean that they would be restricted, like the person who's dedicated to it? Because right now we just have, our 6 members of the team, as far as I'm aware. does that mean a player would have to dedicate themselves to doing no other action except shoveling coal, which would be very unfun for them. And despite the fact that it would make sense, if it's gonna limit a player in that way, I think fuck it, we should move it away, do something else. Other thing, how often do we actually have to put in coal? Is it like every X turns you have to put in some amount of fuel to keep us moving forward, moving up, moving whatever? Because once the buoyancy balloons are filled, once they're filled,
Beyonce.
I feel like they stay. Once the Beyonce balloons are filled, I feel like they stay.
The Beyonce balloons.
Pretty.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is like there's a point where you've put in the work to get the air where it needs to be, and then you have maybe like 20 seconds to go do other stuff or something like that.
Yeah, I think that'd be fairly reasonable.
Whatever amount of time
You hit a jet stream or something.
Cool.
Yeah,
but the other thing to keep in mind too
burns,
is like, because when we're working together on a ship in a combat setting, like we're not going to have our traditional actions to like, attack with a sword or something like this. I think that the way I'm understanding this is when we're focused on doing something with the ship, it is going to use our action to do the crew action, right?
Yep.
So we're all going to be using our actions on ship stuff to an extent.
You could, if you have, if you have weapons, for example, that could shoot across the bow, you could take those, but
wizard.
But not if it would. Well, what I'm saying is not if it would keep the ship from going where we need the ship to go. There is going to be an element of us giving up our attack actions and spell actions and things like that to control the ship. It's going to be a matter of what's a priority in that moment.
100%. But if okay, we're running. I'm doing captainy things. I'm saying someone needs to pull down a mast so we can do a drop in altitude. It makes sense that in that moment someone would go, all right, I'm going to cut the heat from the furnace, pull some lever to cover it so that we reduce air.
And
pull mast, whatever else. That makes sense for them to be dedicated to that at that moment. But any other time, it's like they could be manning a gun. They could be preparing another thing for the future. Maybe stocking or reloading the ballista. Preparing the chain. I don't want them to be stuck just, all right, what am I doing this turn? I'm going to shovel some more coal.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what the
crew actions
minimum crew actions needed to make a ship go.
Sure. So there's a section here called crew actions. We guys are talking about here is what we call the sail action, right? So working the bait and tackle, shoveling coal into the engines, or just pulling the giant oars of a galley, no matter what method of locomotion your ship utilizes, your ship isn't going anywhere without the strength of your crew's backs. To take the sail crew action, the character must succeed a DC 10, and this is going to vary depending, not necessarily strength, but a DC 10 water vehicles check, right? So your character needs to be proficient in water vehicles, or in our cases, air vehicles, but and again, the type of check, the relevant ability changes depending on your ship's locomotion. Doing so will provide a ship a movement speed equal to its speed unit stat, right? That it may use during the ship phase of that round. A failure results in movement equal to half of its speed unit stat being granted instead. So you do have some kind of set speed, right? So in your guys' case, even if you fail, you're going to be moving 10 feet rather than your full 20. But as it states here, your crew needs to do something to keep the ship moving, right? And well, let's go through some of the other ones. Helm. So this is if your ship has a helm. Ships that have a helmsman required property may only move straight ahead if no one on board that ship has taken the helm action. So if you guys are just going straight ahead, no one needs to take the helm action. You could dump that into movement or something. Helm does not require an ability check. However, there are certain situations in which there may be one, right? Such as moving through difficult waters, or in our case, storms or air, and that requires precise maneuvering. In which case, the check is strength or dexterity. depending with the DC varying depending on the situation. So let's see. It would be important, however, if the ship is subjected to effect that requires action. But yeah, okay, you get what that means.
Mhm.
Operate. This is if there's stuff to operate on the ship. Typically, weapons. Right? Your ship doesn't just fire weapons on your turn. Like if it's a character, you say, "I am going to take the operate action, and I'm going to, use this ballista." Right? When you do so, you are going to be making the attacks and everything with your stats. Right? So to fire it and all that stuff uses your modifiers, your damage bonuses, that kind of stuff.
Does it take an action to load and another action to shoot?
If it's specified in the weapon, yes.
If the weapon says it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, if it has a loading property, then yes. For every crew member operating a weapon, the ship receives an attack action. So if you have 5 weapon slots and all 5 of you take an attack, you guys will get 5 attacks, right?
Fire.
And then, yeah, so that'll be like your fire at will moment, right? Where you guys said, okay, fuck it, we're not moving, everybody just fire, right? We're not turning, we're not going to move, we're just going to fire. Command action. This is the one that I think is going to be very helpful and solve a lot of your problems. And for Ollie and Hannah, I think this is the one that you guys really want to pay attention to, because this is going to be, it is going to use your action to command the crew, right? Basically, and it doesn't just have to be you guys, it can be anybody. The rule doesn't specify that it has to be either anybody specific, but you guys being the first mate and the captain, and it would be
Charisma.
expected that you guys would be doing a lot of the commanding, right? So you take the command crew action on a successful DC 10 charisma check. Success adds a +2 to the ship's initiative.
Nice.
Right? So if you want your ship to move faster in combat, take the command action, right? You would turn your +7 into a 9, right? This bonus only lasts for 1 round, right? And there's no limit to how many characters may take the command. So you guys can all decide, okay, we're all going to take the command action.
We're all going to command
Right?
each other. Yes.
We
So,
all make the
wait.
check, and your ship moves really fast that turn. But
Just to clarify, before we move on to readying, so there's the character, the crew phase and the ship phase. So if we all take our actions, we have to take our actions during the crew phase, obviously, and that's like, in terms of attacking. If we have 5 of us loading weapons and readying our fire, the actual attacks happen on the ship phase, correct?
Yep. Everything gets resolved on the ship phase. All the movement happens on the ship phase, and then all the other things.
I see.
Yep. All the attack rolls and all that shit. Readying an action, right? So with additional to ship's phase and initiative order, characters may wish to ready an action to have slightly more options, right? So this works kind of the same way. You define the trigger, and when the trigger happens, your ready action happens. So
I think that's cool. That's like you can. That's an opportunity to strategize.
I'll add one caveat here, because technically, if we're gonna have a crew, like not just us, an actual crew, you can you just make the crew do all of this.
Yes.
I would say to balance it, you give them lower stats, because if you're making charisma checks, for example, you get what I mean? Like, so it's harder for that person to succeed at that ability check, maybe. So otherwise, we can just give the crew.
Yeah. So that's where the variant rule of crew bonuses comes in, actually, Nigel, which is, I agree with you, the way to do it. Even if you have the fastest and mightiest ship ever built, it would be useless without enough capable crew members to sail it. Unfortunately, many larger ships require large crews to sail them, much larger than the average D&D party would be able to fulfill, which means NPC crew members are needed to fill out the ranks. In order to avoid forcing the dungeon master to make dozens or even hundreds of rolls to see what an NPC crew member does during the battle, the DM may choose to employ this variant rule to mitigate and keeping the speed of the gameplay up. Right? So in general, the DM would be advised to use this rule if NPC crews outnumber the players 2 to 1. I am probably just going to use this as often as I can. With this rule, instead of keeping track of each crew member rolling for their crew actions, Crew members are amalgamated into a single score, referred to as a crew bonus. Right? With a crew bonus active, most crew actions that the players roll for gain modifiers that increase both their likelihood and success as well as their impact. In order to calculate the crew bonus, and this is the part that I don't know if I'll do that all the time, simply tally up the number of available crew members to be amalgamated, and then divide that number by the number of player characters in your party. For example, if you have 12 crew members you wish to amalgamate, and you have 4 players in your party, your crew bonus is 12 divided by 4 equals 3. Right? So any remaining crew members that are not turned into a crew bonus instead make their own actions as independent characters. Crew actions undertaken while a crew bonus is in effect receive a +1 modifier to their ability check roll per point of crew bonus, right? So you would get, in this example, +3, right? In addition, while the result of a successful crew action is amplified, the result of a successful crew action is amplified while under the effects of a crew bonus. The exact bonus differs depending on the crew action and is detailed below.
Wow.
So speed, yeah.
So this is pretty much what I was, almost literally what I was saying too.
Yeah.
So that's good that it covers it in the very next section.
So sailing. The movement speed granted by successful sail crew action is increased by 1 speed unit per point of crew bonuses. So let's say you're using your sloop. Right? I think your speed unit was 20. If you have a +3, you get an extra 60 feet, if I'm understanding this correctly. Right? Increased by 1 speed unit per point of crew bonus. So you have 3 crew bonus, 20 feet per speed unit, 60 feet, right?
Wow.
Well, how much is it if a player was doing it?
20 feet. Because you just get your 1 success.
Yeah.
So it's better if the crew. Is this one crew
I think that
action?
makes sense.
Yeah, this is a crew action. So you would still be taking this as a player.
It's
right?
basically saying,
Or
like,
you could assign it to you could assign it to the crew.
the bigger the crew that we're utilizing, the faster we can go, which I think makes sense.
So with the way the modifier is calculated, would the most effective way to set up a crew or crews would be to have, like, everybody gets 1 ship. We're each the captain, and we all have a crew of 12, and then our modifier is +12.
Plus
and we're
12.
An armada.
Yeah, you could. It does certainly.
When
look
we're
like,
level 20 and we have a fleet.
Yeah, you can have a fleet. One thing to keep in mind though is that you do have your crew maximum, your crew passengers. So you have
Sure.
5 minimum crew member, 16 maximum crew, right? So let's say you guys have 16 crew members. You guys have a crew total of 6. The highest you guys are going to be able to get is, I think you round down. Did they say? I would say 2. Right? Because you divide that 16 by 6.
This is going to take some getting used
So, right,
to.
because if it was 18, then you'd get 3, but you don't quite make the 18. So I think you get 2 and then plus some extra crew members. And then those guys we could just roll, or you can have them take like specific things, put them on weapons, or to have them take sail actions or something. So, and then operate. So let's see, if it's used on a ship weapon, you may use another ship weapon on board identical to your own, including ammunition for every point of crew bonus that you have. So one person could take the operate, and then you'd get a plus. In this original example, you'd get 3 additional weapon attacks, is what I'm understanding here. You may roll half your chosen weapon's damage dice, rounding up to your own successful hit. In order to choose that ship weapon, the ship must be available and be ready to use. All right, so it needs to be loaded and also be capable of targeting the same target you are. So, like, say, if you guys split your weapons, you have 2 cannons on the port side, 2 cannons on the starboard side, right? Your target is on the starboard side. You won't get to use your port side cannons, right? Because they're facing the wrong way. I mean, you could use them, but you're not going to hit anything.
Unless we're surrounded.
Is this operate different than the players? Did the players once say roll half the damage die as well, or is that because this is a crew?
I think this is because it's the crew. Player says, attempting to have them specify which weapon they're operating, or a crew member to take this crew action with a weapon. That weapon must be ready and available to use. Attacks can vary widely depending on every crew member operating a ship. Rolls for attack and damage are resolved when the attack actually takes place during the ship phase.
It seems like it's a crew thing then.
Yeah, I think it's just a crew thing.
That's the balancing factor. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So the ship weapon you chose is also considered to have been used, and the extra effects of firing that weapon. Okay, command. The initiative bonus gained from a successful crew action bonus is increased by 1 point per crew action. So that's pretty significant. So you'd get a +3 right there. In the original example, your +7 on your sloop would now be a 10, just because you took the command. So your sloop is going to go first, probably in front of a lot of things. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So back to kind of, yeah.
The command actions. What exactly is aside from charisma as the thing that's being the modifiers are being rolled, is the roll just someone yelling out an order and then that gives a bonus to everybody to do that?
Yeah, it gives a bonus to the ship. It gives a bonus to the ship as a whole. And it could really be anything. It doesn't have to be taken necessarily by the captain or the mate, right? Like, let's say Nigel, walks out and, I don't know, decides to sing a song and say he's going to count that towards his command. He can theoretically do that, but we'll make him sing the song, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So at that point, my question here is, once that happens, that's the action, the telling them what to do. You roll the thing, they get the bonuses added. Does then it require a different crew member to actually perform the action, or are you involved in that action?
No, you were involved in that action. That basically expends your action, right? So the crew, and the way that is resolved is it's just a raw bonus to your initiative. It doesn't actually do anything other than make you go sooner in the turn order of ships, right?
Is that always what it does, or does it have?
That's always what it does. The command, it basically just ups your ship's initiative bonus, right? So you can do that through modifications to your ship, but in combat, right, you can do that as a character, but it does expend your action to do so. Are
there any abilities regarding command, maybe more specific ones, like in Starfinder, as the captain, you can perform specific you can do particular abilities to help very specific crew members do their actions, because in that version, that's space travel or whatnot. But there's like an engineer, and part of their gimmick is that they fix the engines, they improve the engine, do whatever, and your ability as the commander or captain or whatever you
give them a bonus to fixing it and stuff.
Exactly. Is that involved at all, or is it just?
Go back up to the command section one more time.
That's not involved at all. It's very much just, I think the goal was to just keep this really simplified and streamlined. So you literally just kind of have these options, right? Because the other thing too is these are just crew actions. They're not meant to really necessarily take the place of your action if you want to do something else with your action, right? So you just have sail, helm, operate, command, and ready. So sail provides movement, helm provides maneuverability, operate typically, it could have various things, but operate typically we will assume is for weapons, right? Command is to adjust initiative.
Which I think is really actually quite important in a ship battle to go first. So I think the command action is actually really good.
Yeah, I think just the ability is just like a raw, because initiatives for ships are fixed, just a raw bonus to it is very powerful. Especially if you have the crew size, so that you can dedicate some to getting into an advantageous position to fire a weapon or something, because you can. This is where the strategy and the tactics start to come in, right? I that's what I kind of like about this rule set in particular, is I think it's the perfect combination of simple in presentation, but strategically deep in execution, right? You can do a lot with it.
Well, the other thing is, go ahead.
The
other thing is, as a we're still going to have our bonus actions during
You
the
still have your
crew
bonus
phase.
actions, yeah.
So for me as a bard, I can do a command action, but at the same time be giving bardic inspiration to someone.
As a bonus action.
So that
Yep.
would directly affect their ability to succeed on a check.
Yeah.
Max, you okay?
Sorry, I was just
Nodding
out
off.
for a second. I did
That's
not
okay.
get much sleep last night, so
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
Max.
remember he
I
was
was-
telling me before.
I was watching you for 5 minutes.
I know. I was
You
looking
didn't
at him
notice.
too. I was looking at him too, just kind of like,
I was
I
just
can't
like
wait to watch this.
absorbing. I'm just like okay, ships.
crew actions.
This does
Max-
get a little bit dense, but I think once we do a couple playthrough tests,
Yeah, and
it'll-
we'll be doing some
be clear.
playthroughs soon.
So obviously we're not here to change any mechanics at the moment.
Yeah.
But I would like to put into the minds of you all. While these rules do seem very streamlined, I'm not sure if that appeals to me as a person who never knows the rules of anything that I'm doing. But that being said, with a game that's going to be so themed around the ship itself, and I know that we're not always going to be on the ship, we're going to get off and do our thing, but every piece of interstitial scene work is ship related, and I feel like those combats should have maybe a little more weight than what these options provide. Maybe we do consider expanding some of those more in the future, but I don't want to do that until we've tested it to see how it feels.
Sure. I think
That's just-
I feel like these pretty much cover speed of the boat when your boat starts, and then telling people what to do. Like operate, it's only mentioning weapons there, but I think like operate probably covers a lot of things.
yeah.
That's
Everything
true.
else on a ship.
But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, what I'm referring to is the fact that most of this seems disconnected from our characters' responsibilities, and I feel like
Right, yeah.
potentially making more concrete actions and per position might
Mhm.
be something that would add a bit of flair and entertainment and also complexity to these combats.
Yeah. So actually, to that point, let me pull up another little thing for you. And it is
Perfect segue.
I can't look
Yeah.
at Max without laughing now. I have to look somewhere else.
What, am I still?
No, you're fine, but I'm just just wondering.
what's the book? What's the
Look,
Salt
I'm
Marsh
the
book
ship
again?
surgeon. I'm supposed to fix you guys up.
Right.
Trust me, we're gonna need you.
Y'all do the movement stuff.
Just call me when you need me.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Ghost of Saltmarsh. So the Ghost of Saltmarsh book.
Okay.
Let's see. Ghost of Saltmarsh way down here. They have their other ship rule stuff. So the Ghost of Saltmarsh has a lot of what you're talking about here, Ollie. Let me see if I can find their shit.
Like positional actions.
Yeah, so they have like the crew, and then they talk about like what they do. Officers and crew. Here we go. Captain issues orders, high intelligence abilities as well as busy water.
Ooh.
Check.
What?
What?
Just muttering.
Just I know.
Oh,
you went
Oh,
so
I just
fast.
kind of speed read it. I just kind of speed read through it.
First mate.
Oh, I saw
Wait, no,
his
let's look at
reaction.
these.
Intelligence, charisma.
Also, high intelligence, that ain't gonna.
How
Stay on a different,
How you doing there?
spectrum here. My character, his gimmick is, all right, I have a plan. Quartermaster, what's the plan?
Wait, go back
okay,
up.
Sorry. Okay.
The
So
first mate bosun.
yeah. So these are the ship positions. This is where we got our ship positions from, and it talks about kind of the relevant checks and stuff related to them. So we can still put those in, right? But as far and we'd probably offer like bonuses and stuff to it. But I also don't really want to make like ship rolls, especially in combat, feel like a really significant thing. It's especially because like Ollie, let's say, Lycus takes off in his catapult, right? He's not on the ship anyway, right?
Well, and the surgeon and the cook, surgeon maybe, but cook certainly doesn't have anything to do specifically during combat. They can just go help whoever needs it.
Yeah, they can take the operate action, or they could, all of you could theoretically, jump off the boat and let the crew just kind of handle it from there, right?
Well, the thing is also, the thing is also, these crew roles are cool. I don't think that should be the full spectrum of crew roles. Like, I think there should be a gunner position.
Yeah.
I agree.
Specific.
So I was actually going to take away bosun and just change bosun to like engineer, basically just kind of roll it all up with engineer, because functionally they'll be kind of doing the same thing. They're managing, if the bosun manages the sails and all that shit, your engineer manages your engine. If it's like an elder glass ship, they manage the glass, all that stuff.
Kind of seems like a lot for one person though, especially if we're trying to...
It literally just comes down to a dice roll, right? It just comes down to a check.
An intelligence check, right? Because you need to be smart to do things like that.
Depending on, I think it depends on the form of propulsion. Depends on what it is.
If we're trying to move the ship, so using like the sail action and operate weapons, you can't have the bosun doing both of those things.
No, the bosun wouldn't. The bosun would probably be handling the sail action, and you could have your chef or your surgeon who are not actively chefing or surgeoning. They can take the operate action. The rule set that this one rule set, granted, what you gain, like what you expend your action on, sure, it's narratively you're just shoveling coal into the thing, but it's the functional purpose of it. It doesn't need to be, I don't know if there's anything more significant that you really need. If you guys are at far range, fuck it, everybody take the sail action, just close the distance, right? It offers flexibility and bonuses, right? Because you got to remember this is where the teamwork comes in, right? It makes sense to me that some crew members are taking sail so that some crew members can take operate weapon, right? So everybody still is contributing to the ship as a whole, right? And ultimately, the ship combat phase probably only is really going to be significant at the beginning until you guys get to the boarding phase. Because once you guys get to boarding phase, we're probably not going to be doing too much ship combat as you guys are now on another ship, right? So that's why I really like this rule set. It's simple, it's clean, and it doesn't try to be like overly consequential, right? But it also still offers the ability now to, like I said, be that kind of Megazord mode, right? You guys say, okay, well, jump in, everybody hop on a cannon and take an operate weapon action, right? So now we're shooting with, cannons at the creature instead of just our crossbows, right? Yeah. I think this is also helpful. Cool. Movement, talking about how the ships move. This is how you turn a ship.
Is that one,
not
2,
like
3,
this?
4,
That's 40 feet of movement. That's 40 feet.
Okay.
So if you guys have like a 20-foot move speed or a 20-foot speed unit, you can get to from here to here with one movement, with one sail action, right? You can get a 90-degree turn out of that. Movement is always calculated from the ship's bow. Whatever square the bow is in, right? That is where movement is calculated from. Okay. So if you want to move 20 feet, it all starts at the bow, and that's the 20 feet of movement that the ship makes. Certain ships can do maneuvers like this if they have the agile property, right? Or because of airships, we don't have to worry about a liquid medium, right? You could even have A, slower turns depending on weather, or B, faster turns depending on what your airship's method of propulsion is. Like if it's, say, elder glass or something, you are not it's magic that is propelling your ship, right? So it could just go whoop, whoop, whoop. It becomes very powerful as a means of being used. The other thing too is you can also like turn in place as you're rising or falling, right? So you have you have some more maneuverability. But generally, like really large ships, this is how they'll have to move, and if you want to make turns like this, you'd probably still have to make some sort of vertical movement to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
So the rudder nowadays, since we're air based, I feel like that would go from just being a traditional rudder to being like the rudder is attached externally through some fins, so you can still move the rudder to turn the ship, but it pulls a fin out, catching the air, causing it to turn.
Causing it to turn
in the opposite direction of what you would assume it. You would turn the x-axis on your controller on. For X. And that's how ships run nowadays.
Yeah,
I honestly I feel very vulnerable in Airship at this moment.
Oh, yeah? Why?
It seems like there's a lot of weak points. You have the balloon, you have the rudder that you're just talking. Like I can imagine the rudder being this. Maybe it's a skill shot, but it's like pew.
Well, even things like tactically, right? We're talking about the sail action, right? You can only take those actions if you have crew that can take those actions, right? So let's say you have guys, you're like, okay, guys, we got to get the ship moving. You two guys start shoveling coal into the furnace, into the engine, right? But then the enemy ship has like a sniper who just takes those two guys out. Now your ship's dead in the water, right? And especially with initiative and stuff being the way it is, like that could happen, right? So like, let's say, you say, okay, you guys are going to take those sail actions, and you faceless amalgamated crew members, you're taking the sail action, and then your ship is going after the enemy ship, and the enemy ship just comes along, takes those two guys out, right? Now your ship is stuck there. On your ship phase turn, you're staying there.
Yeah. Well, also, I think it depends on how big those targets are, because cannons, for one thing, are not a very precise weapon. Yeah. So there's probably some mechanical, disadvantage there. Also, if we're a moving target, I imagine that's harder to hit as well.
Well, because it's turn-based combat.
We're starting to think a little too realistically. I think it's just maybe it just has a higher AC, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get like half cover bonus and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of how it would manifest.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you guys can also, target crew members on the enemy ship as well, right? Like if you guys see, they're shoveling coal, okay, Nigel, get up there and power word kill those guys. Mm-hmm. You can do that back to them. So there's ways to get around it. But it does. Yeah.
No, I continue. Yeah.
No, you go.
Well, what I'm gonna say is it's like a next topic thing.
Okay.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead, because I don't really have that much else. I was just going to probably transition us.
I was just going to ask about...
Go ahead.
Just a quick question on cannons. If, what size object would you give them? Is that like a medium-sized object, or...
The cannon?
What do you mean? The cannon itself?
Yeah.
Why does that matter? Where are you going?
Because I'm a wizard, Harry.
Oh, so you can levitate it or something?
There's animate objects.
Let's see. God. Hang on. Weapons, weapon damage, cannons, large object.
Large.
I think I could do 2 with the 5th level.
You have some options. You have chain shot, grape shot, smoke bombs, ballistas. You have flaming bolts, catapults. Here's your catapult.
There's your
Ollie.
Catapult.
Yo, launch me.
Huge.
It's a huge object, right? So depending, there's your grappling hook.
That's the real one.
Yep. Arcana, artillery.
We'll have to read through these on our own time, I think.
Yeah.
Or I'll give you some stuff depending on who your character is. Like, you guys don't need to do this, depending on your character. I think, maybe certain characters, Ollie specifically is the one that comes to mind. Maybe Luna, for like actually knowing and like interacting with this stuff.
Because I think in a lot of cases our own spells and like character abilities might be a lot more effective than, say, a cannon. So
exactly.
We don't have to use ship actions.
Until we get to boarding, I'm gonna just spend all of my time doing commands to give us the one up.
Yeah.
Because I'm only useful when up close and personal.
Yeah.
Fortunal.
So you would just be taking the command and getting that initiative, or taking those sail actions and closing the gap kind of thing.
I also saw
Until
that
you can get within range.
command bonuses stack.
Yeah.
So
they
if
do.
we both do commands, we'll be in really good position to.
So there's
Go
6 of
first.
us total, and we can have 10 extra crewmates. So how about we each make one, and then David makes 4. And
Oh, okay.
boys.
Well, have we decided we're going to have a crew?
You guys should
If we
definitely
don't-
have a crew.
We definitely should.
Okay.
You should definitely have a crew. I'm gonna just go out. I'm not, I'm gonna
Because
not
we
really
actually-
handhold here so much, but just have a crew.
I
we
just
should have
thought
a decent sized
less-
crew too.
Less
for some-
NPCs to manage, but yeah, I think it is probably good.
Yeah, I think
If
you
we
guys
had-
should definitely have a crew.
If we
It's
had like
not
a
like you
Millennium
don't have to
Falcon
know them
type
all.
ship.
You can have some red shirts,
Yeah,
You're allowed.
some red shirts.
have some orphans on board just in case.
Hey, no
We
one's
collect-
missing.
Calling all orphans.
So
Calling
this
all
here
orphans.
is
Leave your small
the actual
bullets.
airship rules kind of thing. So this document is by Izzy's Guide to Fight and Flight, created by not Leonardo da Vinci,
My guy was a forward thinker.
by Bright Shield. But anyway, this has some good stuff. I mean, it's not quite as influential as Captains and Cannons, but this is one of the few resources that actually has some decent airship rules that I think would make sense in putting in, right? So there's stuff like, don't worry about built by, but tonnage, it talks about, again, tonnage, which is also in the other one already. Cargo tonnage, which I think I'm just going to amalgamate into regular tonnage for the most part.
Landing, I was curious about.
Landing is an interesting one, right? So landing, stop that. So landing is an interesting one. Let's look at landing real quick. So landing, some airships are limited in areas on which they may moor. Some airships can land without the assistance on solid ground, right? If you have like rails or wheels or something. Whereas others are designed to land on bodies of water, which is not going to happen. Airships without the capacity to land may only do so at purpose-built structures or air docks, right? Otherwise, they must anchor above ground. So this right here is one of the appeals of balloon ships that I was going to mention too. Vehicles which attempt to land on solid ground without the ability to do so take damage equal to 1d10 times their current speed, divided by 10 to a minimum of 1d10. Vehicles which attempt to land on water without the ability to do so would sink, right? Doesn't
Well, we
matter.
don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so I was actually going to say like certain airships or certain balloon ships, right? And this is something I actually got from Izzy's, is when you turn it into the wind, it actually stops moving. It stays suspended in the air, right? Its speed becomes 0, right? So if you wanted to do things like stop overnight, right? You could turn your ship towards the wind, and you just need like a skeleton crew that kind of just keeps the fires burning throughout the night. Airship docks would probably operate on a similar fashion, where they would be designed in such a way where the dock, points the ship in the correct direction, and then you can just kind of go on and off your ship. So certain ships can do stuff like that.
We're gonna have to figure out how much coal it takes to do certain things.
Yeah.
And then keep
Like
track
cost.
of that, because we're gonna.
I think I might base
Stack.
it off of your ship's speed unit. That way you can do things like upgrade your engine to get better speed unit, but it would require more or less coal depending on probably just more coal just to keep things simple. We're not going to be worried too much about creating Teslas or anything.
It's a hybrid.
Ships in combat. Let's see. There was one. So there was a couple of things in this one that I really liked. Right. So they had some additional actions. They had a thing like a full speed ahead, a brace for impact, right? Which I'm kind of into, and I might put brace for impact into our list of crew actions, right? So this is like if you're taking a ram, right? Either you're going to be ramming or you're taking a ram. You can brace for impact, right, to keep from falling off or taking any additional stuff, but it basically gives you all attacks against it are made at disadvantage and it no longer has disadvantage on saving throws against damaging effects. Ramming is an interesting one. I liked what Izzy's did here, where ramming damage was modified by your tonnage, right?
Yeah.
So the heavier you are, the more significant your ram attack. Cast or raise anchor is an action. I mean, that's rarely going to happen in combat, but I mean, I guess you guys could do like a club haul in an airship. That would be pretty fucking baller.
If you do like a hairpin turn.
Yeah, you just drop the anchor on one side, click, and then
Or instead of just ramming, because this is 3-dimensional now, we can go above them, drop our anchor, hook a bitch.
You could absolutely do that. I was also thinking, it would be interesting to see. That does open up like weapons that you drop on people versus weapons that you fire at people. I think that would be something.
Except
Yeah. Instead of catapulting Lycas, you just go, all right, get me above them.
Goodbye, guys.
Jump onto their balloon and just kind of slide your way down.
Hey, so
damage control, man, weapon station. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
I'm sure we could talk for hours and hours and hours about this, but we do have something in a little bit here, David.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, and then there's variations on things like wind and stuff. You know, dead wind, light wind, heavy wind, which is similar to what they have in captains and cannons too. So there's some overlap and stuff. So I think there's kind of a marriage between the two rule sets that I was going to look at. But what do you guys think so far of the rules that were kind of presented here? Does it kind of keep things fairly streamlined, keep things, simple enough that you guys would be interested in playing it? Do you think there's enough strategy? Do you want more nuance? I think, Ollie, it sounded like you were leaning to more nuanced stuff.
Yeah, and believe me, I am not usually that guy. I usually like the rules to be, all right, is it my turn? Can I just say stuff? Cool.
Yeah.
But I for something about naval battle feels like there should be a structural nuance.
Yeah.
A crew order that allows.
So something related to the crew roles and stuff like that.
Maybe so, or just like what you were saying with brace for getting rammed
for impact.
In the butt.
Yeah.
Getting any action where you can really control what's happening in more a nuanced way, I think is interesting, because then that opens up for strategy in the way that chess does, where everyone knows what can happen. It's going to be interesting to see how it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because right now, with the way it's set up, the first thing that pops into my mind is, all right, we need to go faster. We need to do something to go faster. Let's turn off the fucking furnace. Let's get the wizard down there. Get some firebolts going. Really pump up the engine real fast. Is that a thing we can even do with the way it's structured right now? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And anything that would allow for maybe a little more structure might help restrict or guide people like me who are just like, how can I just do things that'll alter the rules?
The tricky thing is, I don't mind doing stuff like that, but we will have to do a lot more rolls to resolve whether or not things like that happens, right? Because theoretically, yes, you could have your Dragonborn, instead of pumping coal into, keep the fire burning, just sticks his head in and just breathes fire, right? And you'd say like, okay, well, that should give you a bonus to your sail action, right? Should give you like a little bonus to your speed, should count like a crew action, and I think that's probably where I would go, is I would basically treat it like a crew action bonus in terms of rewards, depending on what it is, right? But generally that's kind of the form it would take. The only thing I'd worry about there is always going to be a matter of, does this kind of break our system? And for the most part, if it's just giving bonuses within the framework already kind of within the rules, not really, right? But if we're looking to start get like a lot of extra stuff, then we may have to talk about kind of putting a cap on certain things, because there still needs to be some challenge, right? And always just kind of keep in mind, whatever I allow players to do, I also allow monsters to do, or enemies.
Everyone have counterspell.
Here's an idea and option which adds a little something to what Nigel was concerned about with in terms of like so many structural weak points and this and that. Which this would be more difficult and kind of a pain in the ass to track, but also could be kind of interesting if we decide to go this route. Along with like hull points, having some sort of,
yeah. Like modular pieces with hit points and
modular pieces, but also sort of like how in older games armor would have its own hit points insert or whatever. But instead of having it be hit points, it's strain based. So we can strain certain aspects. We can strain the engines. We can strain the mast in order to go beyond what is our speed or what is whatever. But that's dangerous.
But it's a risk, yeah.
Yeah.
So like
I don't mind stuff like that. I'm never opposed to stuff like that because there's the as long as there's some kind of potential trade, right? Like it's got to be a risky move. There's got to be some consequence for doing it. So I don't mind stuff like that because then I still feel like, okay, we're still kind of working within the realms of keeping things, as fair as possible, so yeah, I would be amenable to that, Yeah, you could absolutely like stress out your engine, gain a little bit of extra movement speed, or if it was like in the shape of your command, maybe you get a little bit of extra initiative. It really is going to depend on how you guys want to do it, but yeah, we'll find ways to kind of make some trades there. I'm always happy to say, oh sure, you can have that extra movement speed, but your engine is cracked, so you're going to have to spend X amount of time fixing it now after combat, kind of thing. Or your engine is overheated, so you get this speed for one turn, but the next turn your movement speed is 0 as your engine is recovering or cooling.
Of course. I in terms of things that I would actually really enjoy for naval combat, that is one, just because that adds a lot more of back and forth. The other thing which we talked about for a moment, and like I said, I'd rather play test it, do whatever, see how it goes. The idea of a command only doing initiative bonus, that funks with me a little bit, because again, my plan is to jump off as soon as I can. So Hannah, you're in charge until I get there.
There goes Cap again.
Until then, but either way, the idea of like the action doing a set thing tickles me the wrong way, and I would prefer the idea of like, all right, I'm going to use this command to maybe get us initiative, or maybe push that bonus towards whoever's running the engines, or maybe we're gonna put it towards.
So you can take like the health action, and give people advantage on the check. Granted, the checks are very low in this. They all have checks of like a DC 10, right? So the checks, there is a check involved, but it's not a significant check. Like you'd expect that most people are going to make this check no problem.
I think the tricky part for us, and like the stuff that will kind of come out in the airship playtest sessions that we're going to do, is finding a balance between having enough rules and structure for there to be like a precedent for most things, but also like leaving ourselves flexible for saying, well, this is an interesting creative idea that we didn't anticipate, so here's a creative result that happens fairly.
The tricky thing is, but the tricky thing is, keeping and I mean, I'm always open to saying, like, okay, this is how we'll run it today, but we'll think about it and see if maybe we run it a little bit differently if this comes up again. So and that happens a lot already in our game, where you guys say, oh, can I do X, Y, and Z? And I'll say, okay, sure, we'll allow it right now, but then for future sessions we're going to talk about how we can put some rules around that, because you guys are going to find ways to do things. I think already catapulting the captain across the way to the other ship, that's one of those things we're going to have to figure out, because do you take fall damage on the other end of this one? Right? Do you? At
what level does Monk get featherfall?
It's not featherfall, but slow fall.
Slow fall, yeah.
So you can reduce your damage. I think it's actually 5, because I have it as Fila, and I'm only level 5.
Dang.
I think it's 5.
All right.
But you can, I mean, by all
You can
means,
still
man,
do it.
You can still do it.
You're pretty dexterous, so you can try to do a tuck and roll thing.
I can imagine Max's character is still on the other ship, like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. How do I get there to heal him?
Yeah.
Guys,
Oh,
I
yeah,
have a plan.
things.
Aim for the mast, shoot me.
Sure. Yeah.
Just kind of like starfish on the sail and then slide down.
I
don't
can't wait
use
to play
daggers,
test.
but for today.
Yep.
Oh.
All right,
You
cool.
just keep extra long nails to just grab on.
And just
Ew.
tear them.
Cat.
I
Natural
think you
weapon.
could do that if you wanted. Okay, cool. So let's see. In summary, I think we all agree ships are cool. Airships are cool. We're going to do that. I'm glad we've officially decided that, because otherwise months of work for me would have been down the drain.
What if we all came in and we're like, you know what? I don't know
You know
about
what? We want to
airships.
just stay in the one city, actually.
Let's just
Yeah.
ride
Actually,
camels everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have kind of an idea of the rule set. We have an actual nautical ship session coming up. This Captains and Cannons is what we will be using for that. Okay. Then in future playtests, we're gonna do 2 like actual airship playtests, right? We'll do 1 at level 3 and then 1 at level 10. Yeah,
Ooh.
1 at level 3, 1 at level 10.
So fun.
So you'll have your slow fall if you wanted, Ollie. Well, I wouldn't allow any of you guys to use your characters for the level 10 one. I would say one of you could use your characters for the level 3, and I would recommend it be Lycus. So I would say Lycus can use his character. We'll roll that a little bit into part of your 0 session, because a lot of these guys are showing up in other sessions, other games, other one-shots, to kind of flesh out their backstory. So it'd be cool for Lycus to kind of have one as well. We'll keep, I usually try to keep my playtest stuff canon if I can, just because why play something if we're not going to put it in the lore? Yeah, I see canon. That's good.
So this is Lycus's previous little event.
Yeah. So everybody can, and they can basically all make, potential NPCs that you'll run into. So you guys can go kind of crazy. I don't know if Lycus is quite at captain level yet, but we'll see what happens. He thinks he is. And then we also gotta see if there's anything else with airship stuff. Did we get everything that I was on my little list here? I think
It may tie into some of the other diaries that we're going to talk about, like environment and climate, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so like the climate thing, with the reduced like air thing, air ceiling. I think 1,000 feet is a good cap. Just again to keep the math simple.
It's an easy number.
It's an easy number, right? You can typically, most folks typically fly between 500 to 700 feet range. That's like the standard, right? And then anything beyond that is like very specific ships, and you have to be like specifically equipped to do that. And then beyond 1,000 feet is just kind of unheard of because of the lack of atmosphere and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Let me see. One thing I will say that you guys will all would have learned about soon enough as I start to post World Anvil articles, because the World Anvil stuff is going to be coming out soon. I'm finishing the World Meta, and then I'm going to be posting a backlog of small articles that I've been working on. One is going to be eventually the article for New Azafast, right? Which is going to be an area that you guys all know about, right? And you will also know that it has a what's called the Air Marina. So the Air Marina is the big airship hub. Okay, so you'll see that there is, we'll do some docks and some anti-aircraft stuff and some just regular kind of world building. One thing I will say for Nigel's character Luna, the Air Marina it's in New Azafast, right? And this is again something Luna knows already, kind of going into the campaign. That Air Marina is actually the old arena repurposed into an airport.
That's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So you have so it's an old gladiatorial arena they've added some height to it, added some some air docks and stuff. So it functions like a giant circular air marina, air harbor, airport, sky harbor.
The fastest
To be
best city.
determined what we're gonna call it.
Sorry, Nigel?
I said as the fastest best city.
Yeah, it's yeah, we'll see as we, as things kind of go forward. More stuff is going to come out. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be kind of posted in the World Anvil and the player settings guide. So the existence of the Air Marina isn't exactly a secret for you guys. You all know that it's there, and you all know that New Azafast is, as far as cities go, they did pretty well throughout the apocalypse. They were okay. So there is some civilization left in the world for you guys to explore. But yeah.
You gotta sell the goods somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, guys. I think let's call it here for today. Thank you so much for joining me, indulging me in this conversation. I will put together a final rules draft with a combination, I think, of captains and cannons and a couple of the small airship pieces from Izzy's. And kind of post it for you guys, and we'll see if there's anything in like the Ghost of Saltmarsh rule set that carries over nicely. I think Ghost of Saltmarsh is the rule set that's going to have kind of what you were looking for, Ollie, a little bit more like nuanced role stuff. And yeah, we'll go through it and see if there's something there we like, and then I'll post it in the player's handbook for you guys. Okay,
Sounds good.
Yeah, cool.
Sweet. All right. So what's our next campaign diary? Let's just do a quick plug for that before we head out.
It will
it's
be. Let's see. It's going to be. Well, we have a ship play test
Yeah.
at the end of this month. And then the next actual diary will be Broken Magic.
Broken Magic. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one.
That is
We
gonna
have
be
a lot of casters that we are going to need to talk about how your shit works. If it works. Does it work? All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We'll see you around. Ollie, you want to take us out?
I would love to. All right, so remember, everybody, there's a lot of stuff going on the channel right now. There's also always the podcast with me and my wife. We're just talking about some nerdy shit. But more importantly, more relevant to this nonsense, there is the Tales of Terra podcast with me, Hannah, and David. It should be somewhere around episode 7 by now. By the time this comes out.
Yeah, who knows where we're going to be at.
And, maybe they've caught a murderer. Who knows?
Hopefully, at that point.
I still think it's Bison.
But that and hopefully by now more will be available all over the YouTube channel. So just click around. It'll be fun for everybody. Other than that, the only thing I need to make sure to plug every time, this is probably coming out half a year later, months later, I don't know how long later. Get a fucking vaccine, please.
Get vaccinated. Get your booster.
Get vaccinated.
But yeah, that's all for me. If you guys need to plug your own Twitters or whatever the hell you want, please go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Twitter,
Who's got Twitters and stuff to plug?
Yeah.
I think the only things I'm going to plug are the World Anvil. Check out if you guys are interested in the rules that are showing up in the Hysteria Sansi Age stuff. If you're interested in what the world is like, if you want to kind of get more information, if you feel like, oh, this shit's pretty interesting, or even if you're just like an aspiring DM and you want to know how we handle shit at our table, 1, watch the campaign diaries, but 2, if watching isn't your style and listening to my soothing voice is not what you want to do, by all means, check out the World Anvil.
We'll link it in the link
somewhere.
below.
We'll link it in
below.
the thing. There'll be links that you should all click.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks everybody for listening. Get the hell out of here. Goodbye.
And don't come back. No, come back.
No,
No,
David.
no, please come back.
Like and subscribe.
Baby, come back. You can blame it all.